Every new year carries a familiar hope. This time, everything will be different. The moment the clock strikes midnight, you promise yourself that you will change, live differently, and become the person you've always known you could be. But then, life quickly pulls you back into the old orbit before January even fades. Perhaps you are carrying failures no one sees, or decisions you wish you had made differently. Or maybe it's that familiar exhaustion when you wake up each morning, knowing that if nothing changes from within, nothing will change on the outside. This isn't a reproach. This is the moment to look directly at the truth. Your life will not change direction if you do not take the wheel. Time does not make you better. A new year does not grant you strength. The only thing that can change everything is action and responsibility. The Stoic finds freedom not in ideal circumstances, but in mastering their own reactions and choices. 2026 is not a promise, it is a test. If you are tired of repeating the same old promises, stay with us on this journey. Subscribe to Stoic Journey, not to hear empty motivation, but to look squarely at the choices that will determine whether you stand still or move forward. And the first enemy you must face is not out there. It lies within your most familiar habit: procrastination. 1. Stop waiting. Start now. There is a familiar voice in your head. I'll do it tomorrow. It sounds harmless, even logical. It promises that when you have more time and more energy, everything will be easier. But if you are honest with yourself, has that perfect day ever actually arrived? The truth is, you aren't procrastinating because you lack ability. You are waiting for the feeling of being ready. And that feeling rarely shows up. Motivation does not precede action, it follows it. Every time you say tomorrow, you don't just lose a day, you are teaching yourself that your word is worthless. Self-esteem is not eroded by grand failures, but by the small times you failed to keep a promise to yourself. The core message is simple, yet hard to swallow. You don't need to be ready to start. You need to start to become ready. The Stoic doesn't ask, do I feel good enough? They ask, what can I do right now? Not the big task, but the smallest possible one. A short step, the first few minutes, an action small enough that you cannot find an excuse to avoid it. Small actions won't change your life immediately, but they change the relationship between you and yourself. They restore trust. The moment you begin to act, however clumsily, you have defeated the most dangerous enemy, the habit of standing still and waiting. But as you start to walk, another trap will appear, more subtle and just as familiar. The habit of blaming. 2. Stop blaming. There is a trap more subtle than procrastination and just as dangerous. Blame. It sounds perfectly reasonable. You tell yourself that if it weren't for your family, your boss, or your circumstances, you would have gone much further. The world is unfair. That is a fact. But every time you point a finger outward, you are silently draining the power from yourself. Blame creates a sense of temporary relief. It gives you a narrative to explain why you are still standing still. But the cost is immense. When you believe the cause lies beyond your reach, you also believe the solution does not belong to you. You wait for circumstances to change, for others to understand, for a door to be opened. And while you wait, your life continues to pass by without you at the steering wheel. The core message is clear. You don't need perfect circumstances to move forward. You need to take responsibility for your part. You cannot choose where you were born, the people you work with, or what happened in the past. But you can always choose how you respond and move forward. When you shift the question from who caused this to what will I do with it now, power returns to your hands. The Stoic does not deny hardship. They simply refuse to let hardship define who they are. They look directly at reality without complaining or self-deception. Every obstacle is not a stop sign, but a problem to be solved. The moment you stop blaming, you cease being a victim of circumstance. You become the owner of your choices. But once you reclaim that power, another truth reveals itself. With no one left to blame, you are forced to face a much harder question. If this life is truly mine, how will I write it? 3. You hold the pen. Time does not rewrite your life on its own. It only hands you a blank page every single day. If you do not actively write on it, the world will write for you, using your old habits, your default choices, and what is convenient for others rather than what is right for you. Many people spend their entire lives in autopilot mode, only to be surprised when their story leads nowhere they actually wanted to go. There is a common illusion that given enough time, things will naturally get better. But time has no morality. It has no good or bad intentions for you. It simply passes. If you do not choose, you have already chosen the default. And the default choice rarely leads to a life of purpose. It merely repeats yesterday under a different name. The core message is blunt. You don't need a massive turning point to change your life. You need a clear decision to start rewriting it. Not a perfect decision, but your decision. That decision can be tiny. Saying no to something familiar, saying yes to a task you've been avoiding, or simply stopping the wait for someone else's permission to live differently. The moment you reclaim the pen, everything shifts in a very quiet way. You no longer just react to the days. You begin to choose how you live within them. You don't need to know where the entire story ends. No one does. The only thing you need is to write the next sentence with honesty. Every day you write, even just one line, you are affirming something vital. This life is yours, and you are responsible for it. But once you accept that responsibility, a harder question emerges. If you are the author, do you have the courage to make definitive choices? Because no story ever changes without a real decision. 4. A definitive decision. There is a dangerous state in which many people live: hesitation. Neither moving forward nor stepping back. You stand at the crossroads long enough to convince yourself that you are thinking it through, when in reality, you are simply avoiding the responsibility of choosing a direction. Hesitation gives you a false sense of security, but the cost is time and self-esteem, eroded piece by piece. We often say we are waiting for the right moment, waiting for more information, or waiting to be more certain. But the harsh truth is, there is no perfect moment. Clarity does not precede the decision, it follows the commitment. Every day you fail to decide, life decides for you, by inertia, by circumstance, and by old habits. The core message is straightforward. A single decision, no matter how small, is better than 100 thoughts that lead to no action. A decision doesn't need to be certain. It only needs to be definitive enough for you to start walking. When you decide, you don't guarantee success, but you end the state of standing still, and that in itself is a victory. The Stoics did not seek absolute safety. They chose responsibility. They understood that the greatest regret comes not from a wrong decision, but from the decisions that were never made. A definitive decision is how you tell yourself that you are ready to own the outcome, instead of hiding in the neutral zone. And once you have decided, everything begins to move. Not quickly, not loudly, but truly. The decision is the first spark. The rest, the action, the discipline, the results, can only emerge afterward. 5. Action creates results. The world does not reward intentions. It doesn't care how long you thought about it or how meticulously you've planned. The only thing that leaves a trace in your life is what you actually do. Many people confuse preparation with progress, mistaking the feeling of doing something for the reality of changing something. Perhaps you've experienced this. The day passes filled with serious thoughts and noble intentions, yet when night falls, nothing in your life has shifted. Planning provides a false sense of security, making you feel as though you've moved forward when, in truth, you are still standing still. And the longer you remain stationary, the more you grow accustomed to calling it thinking it through. The core message is clear. Without action, there are no results. There are no exceptions. Discipline is not found in grand declarations, but in the small choices repeated every day. A task completed, however imperfectly, is always more valuable than a perfect plan that never started. The Stoic doesn't ask, "Will this make me feel better?" They ask, "Does this need to be done?" There will be days when you act through exhaustion, lack of motivation, and even self-doubt. But those are the days that make the difference. A friend of mine once said that the only thing that pulled him out of a cycle of stagnation was a simple commitment to do one hard thing every day that no one sees. Not to prove a point, but to keep his word to himself. Action does not promise immediate results, but it always creates movement. And movement, however slow, is always better than paralysis. When you act consistently enough, results will arrive as a natural consequence, not a miracle. But then, continuous action will lead you to another challenge, one that no one can avoid when truly walking the path. Failure. 6. Facing failure. No real action comes without risk, and where there is risk, failure will appear. The issue is not whether you will fail, but how you react when it happens. Many people don't stop because they lack ability. They stop because they fear the feeling they label as failure. Failure is rarely loud. Sometimes it's a rejected email, a result that falls short of expectations, or the quiet realization that you haven't come as far as you thought. Our first instinct is to retreat, to pull back and protect ourselves from being hurt again. But the price of avoidance is stagnation. When you hide from failure, you also hide from growth. The core message is simple and uncomfortable. Failure is not a dead end. It is feedback. It shows you what isn't working, what needs adjustment, and who you need to become to move forward. A Stoic doesn't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They ask, "What is this teaching me?" Change the question, and failure loses its power to crush you. There's a truth few admit. The people you admire have failed far more times than you have. They simply refuse to use failure as a reason to stop. They used it to refine how they act, how they think, and how they take responsibility. Each time they stood back up, they became harder to shake, not because fear disappeared, but because they learned to move forward with it. If there's a failure you've been avoiding, pause here. Don't skip ahead. Name it. Write down one lesson it's trying to teach you, and choose one small action to take today because of it. No audience, no validation, just proof to yourself that failure didn't end you. 7. Trusting yourself. After all the falls, a quiet question emerges. Do I still believe in myself? Not a loud, delusional confidence, but a silent certainty that you can endure, adapt, and keep moving. No one else can build this trust for you, and no amount of outside encouragement can do it either. Many people survive on external validation. They need someone else to tell them they are good enough or that they are on the right path. But when that validation vanishes, they collapse. The core message is clear. Self-trust does not come from things going smoothly. It comes from knowing you can stand back up when they don't. Trusting yourself doesn't mean you are always right. It means you trust that you can learn from being wrong. You believe that regardless of the outcome, you have the capacity to adjust and move forward. The Stoic does not seek certainty in the external world. They find it in their ability to master their own reactions and choices. When you trust that ability, you are no longer easily knocked down by life's small tremors. This belief is built in silence, through actions no one sees. Every time you keep your word to yourself, even in small things, you lay another brick in that foundation. No need for declarations, no need for proof, just consistency. Over time, this certainty replaces fear, not with recklessness, but with steadfastness. When you truly trust yourself, you stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You understand that you are the only one who will be there when things get hard, and this realization opens the door for the next step. The courage to create opportunity rather than waiting for it to appear. 8. Actively creating opportunity. Many believe their lives will change only when an opportunity finally appears. They wait for an invitation, a clear sign, or a more favorable moment. But in that waiting, they remain passive, hoping something from the outside will come to rescue them. The reality is that opportunity rarely seeks out those who simply stand still. The core message is blunt. Opportunity is not a reward for passive patience. It is the consequence of proactivity. The Stoic does not wait for perfect conditions. They act within existing conditions, however incomplete or flawed they may be. And it is precisely those uncertain first steps that open the next doors. Being proactive doesn't mean blind recklessness. It means taking responsibility for positioning yourself to move forward. Sending that email you've hesitated over, starting a difficult conversation, learning a skill you aren't yet confident in. These small acts don't guarantee success, but they create possibility. Doing nothing creates zero possibility. Many call their waiting patience, but in truth, it is a thinly veiled fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. But when you step forward, even just 1 inch, you break that cycle. You shift from a passive stance to a proactive one, from someone who waits for life to happen to someone who makes life happen. When you start being proactive, your life doesn't change overnight, but your position within it does. From that position, opportunity is no longer something you beg for. It is something you build, piece by piece. The next step to ensure those opportunities don't slip away in vain is discipline, the force that keeps you in the game long enough to see results. 9. Discipline is freedom. Many believe that discipline is something that stifles life, a set of dry, rigid rules that make the days feel heavy. But the truth is the exact opposite. What truly exhausts you is not discipline. It is having to make decisions every single day in a state of chaos, lack of direction, and a constant urge to quit. Discipline is not a cage. It is the structure that prevents you from exhausting yourself. The core message is clear. Discipline liberates you from internal chaos. When you turn the right actions into habits, you no longer need to argue with yourself every day. You don't wait for inspiration, you don't negotiate, and you don't procrastinate. You simply do what needs to be done, then move on with your life. The Stoic does not seek motivation, they build systems. Small habits, repeated daily, create a steady rhythm that prevents you from being swept away by fleeting emotions. You wake up on time, you do the work, you keep your word. Not because anyone is watching, but because you respect yourself. Discipline doesn't change who you are. It allows you to become your true self in a sustainable way. And once discipline becomes your foundation, you no longer have to fight yourself every day. You begin to move forward in silence. 10. Stepping out of your comfort zone. The comfort zone is not a dangerous place. It is simply a place where everything is so familiar that you stop growing. In that zone, you know you won't fail, but you also won't move forward. Many people mistake this stability for peace when, in reality, it is accepted stagnation. The core message is clear. Growth always comes with a degree of discomfort. No new skill, no new relationship, and no better version of yourself is formed in a state of total ease. The Stoic does not seek to avoid feelings of insecurity. They learn to live alongside them without letting those feelings dictate their actions. Stepping out of your comfort zone doesn't require a giant leap. Sometimes it's just accepting that you will be clumsy, that your words won't be perfect, and that you won't succeed on the first try. But it is precisely those moments that expand your limits. Every time you dare to step up, your old comfort zone doesn't disappear, it grows wider. If you don't allow yourself to become someone new, you are imprisoning yourself in an old version. Life was not built for you to remain still forever. It was built for you to learn, to try, and to change. Stepping out is not about proving something to others. It is about giving yourself a real chance. 11. Mastering your response to others' opinions. One of the fastest ways to lose yourself is to live through the eyes of others. A single comment, a frown, or a long silence can be enough to make you doubt the path you are on. Gradually, you stop making decisions based on what you believe is right, and start making them based on whether they will be accepted. The core message is clear. Peace does not come from controlling the world, but from controlling your response. You cannot manage what others think, nor do you need to. When you allow external opinions to define your worth, you surrender the power of your life to people who aren't even living it. The Stoic does not deny feedback. They simply distinguish clearly between feedback and judgment. Feedback helps you grow. Judgment only reflects the fears, insecurities, or limitations of the speaker. When you learn to listen selectively, you keep what is useful and let the rest drift away without carrying the weight of it. You do not owe anyone the duty of becoming the version they expect. You only owe yourself honesty. When you master your reaction, public opinion loses its steering wheel, and from that steadfastness, you gain the stamina to walk the long road without being pulled off course. 12. Persistence beyond emotions. Most people do not fail because they lack ability. They fail because they stop too soon. The early days of any journey are often fueled by excitement, but when the novelty fades and results haven't yet surfaced, doubt begins to speak. Many people mistake not seeing results for going in the wrong direction. The core message is clear. Consistency is more important than intensity. Doing the right thing at a moderate pace but repeating it long enough is always more powerful than explosive efforts that quickly burn out. The Stoic does not place their trust in fleeting emotions. They place it in long-term commitment, especially on the days when no one is watching. Persistence doesn't mean forcing yourself through agonizing pain. It means continuing to show up even when you no longer feel like it. There will be days when you can only do a little, but the fact that you still appear, that you keep the rhythm, is what prevents you from sliding back to the starting line. Life does not change in climactic moments. It changes in the silent repetition of right choices. And when you are persistent enough, results do not need to be chased. They will eventually find you. 13. Choosing your companions. You can be disciplined, persistent, and hardworking, but if you spend every day with people who drain your energy, the journey will become heavier than it needs to be. The person you are becoming is deeply influenced by the people you spend time with, whether you admit it or not. The core message is clear. You are responsible for your own mental environment. The Stoic does not socialize out of habit or fear of loneliness. They choose relationships that push them to live more virtuously, with more discipline and more honesty toward themselves. These relationships aren't always comfortable, but they are always valuable. This doesn't mean cutting off everyone who isn't perfect. It means knowing who lifts you up, who drags you down, and who makes you doubt the path you've chosen. When you are around those who constantly complain, procrastinate, or live in fear, those behaviors slowly become your normal. Conversely, when you surround yourself with people who take responsibility, growth becomes your new standard. You don't need a crowd. You need the right environment. And when you choose the right people to walk with, you don't just go further, you walk with more certainty. 14. Never stop learning. There is a silent moment that marks the beginning of a person's decline. It is when they believe they already know enough. It's not that they lack information, but that they have lost their curiosity. The world continues to change whether you keep up or not. And when you stop learning, you don't stand still. You fall behind. The core message is clear. Learning is the sign of spiritual survival. The Stoic does not learn to show off knowledge, they learn to adapt. They understand that the greatest human ability is not to control circumstances, but to adjust oneself to those circumstances. Learning doesn't need to be loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is just reading a few more pages, listening to a different perspective, or admitting that you don't understand enough yet. When you allow yourself to be a student, you keep your mind flexible and humble, two qualities that prevent you from breaking when the world shifts direction. Personal growth is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming a version of yourself that is better equipped to handle real life. And when you never stop learning, you no longer fear change, because you know you have the tools to keep pace with it. We have traveled through a journey that was uncomfortable, but necessary. There are no miracles here, no shortcuts. Only one consistent truth. Life only changes when you change the way you choose. 2026 does not bring you a new beginning. It only brings you more time. And that time will pass, whether you are ready or not. You don't need to apply all 14 truths at once, but you cannot continue to live the same way and expect a different result. One clear decision, one small action repeated in silence. That is where real change begins. No one is coming to save you, and that isn't bad news. That is freedom. If you are serious about your life, do not let this video pass by like all the others. Choose one truth. Apply it today. And if you are ready for the long journey, stay with Stoic Journey. Not to be inspired, but to learn how to stand firm when there is nothing left to lean on. The road ahead is not easy, but it is yours. Now write the rest of your story, starting today.